Okay, I need a motion to come out of executive session. Councilmember Adamczak, seconded by Councilmember Jazinski. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We are out of executive session, and we're moving on to the regular meeting. Could we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Could we please continue to stand as we have a moment of silence for our veterans? For the invocation tonight, we have Reverend Rick Masano.
Let's look to the Lord in prayer. Father, as we stand before you today, we continue to think of Officer Black Chief. And Father, we're asking, Lord God, that you would just continue to bring healing to him and strength to his family, Lord. And we thank you for all our police officers, men and women, Lord, who put themselves on the line to keep us safe. And also our volunteer fire departments in the towns, in the villages. Father, we thank you for them. Father, as we embark on this meeting, we ask, Father, your presence. We pray that everything will go well according to your will. We pray, Father, for our armed forces, men and women, that you protect them, guide our elected leaders. And Father, we just thank and praise you for your goodness and mercy you shown in this nation. We ask these things in your name.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend. Please be seated. Madam Clerk, could I have a roll call?
Councilmember Christine Adamczak. Here. Councilmember Linda Hammer. Here. Councilmember Michael Jazinski.
Here.
Councilmember Gerald Kaminsky. Is excused.
It's excused, yes.
Councilmember Brian Noah.
Present.
Councilmember Brian Pilarski.
Present.
Supervisor Diane Benchkowski.
Here. Okay, we have 6 present tonight. I'm just going to add a little presentation from Jim Curso. Are you from the county or the Small Business Administration? Yes, they're taking applications, and I think this would help our businesses, so if I didn't want to have to wait. So is everybody okay if we just let them have 5 minutes, 10 at the most, I told them, but 5?
With the Small Business Administration, Office of Disaster Resiliency and Recovery. We are in town as a result of the recent disaster declaration that was declared around the December 23rd to 28th blizzard. We are offering home disaster loans to homeowners and renters and business physical damage loans to business owners. The deadlines for those to apply is April 28th. And then we're also offering economic injury disaster loans to businesses. The deadlines for those are November 28th. The economic injury and the business disaster loans have a cap of $2 million. They're both long-term, up to 30 years, and low interest. And the loans for the homeowners and the renters are $200,000 for homeowners and $40,000 for renters, and that's for either physical damage to the property or contents to the home and for the renters. We have a center where we are taking applications over here at the Fire Training Center through Thursday, and we also have a center over in Buffalo at the Grider Center through a week from Friday. So we're encouraging anyone who might have had any damage related to the storm to come in and talk and see if you're eligible for our loans. There's no fee for the loans. There's no obligation to take the loans. And currently also too, if you do get awarded a loan, it's going to be deferred for 12 months and interest-free, so there will be no accrued interest. So we're here, we come around whenever there's a disaster, we travel, and we want to be able to help folks to be able to get back on their feet with the long-term low-interest loans that we offer.
Okay, do you have anything you want to leave with the town clerk? Because people can pick up the information there.
Yeah, I have got
Okay.
some flyers here. Got some flyers here. And,
Okay.
And then, like I say, eventually we'll get something up on the website. And be
So
happy
you're
to-
only going to be in Cheektowaga until this week, and that's it?
Yeah, we were only supposed to be here for 2 weeks, and we didn't get. Yeah, apparently we're having more traffic over in Buffalo, so they moved us there.
Okay.
But we're at least. So for tomorrow and Thursday, we're there till 4 o'clock from 9 to 4, 9 to 6 tomorrow, 9 to 4. Thursday,
On
but then-
Thursday?
yeah.
And you're not there Friday or Saturday
Not
then?
Friday or Saturday,
Okay.
no.
And that'll be at
for Cheektowaga.
But you'll still be at the
For-
Delavan Grider?
6 days a week, Monday through Friday,
Until-
9:30 to 6, and then this Saturday, 10 to 2 there.
But that'll be it then,
That'll be it for the actual walk-in center. Folks can still apply online through December 28th at disasterloanassistance.sba.gov. That's on the flyer. Or if anybody wanted a paper copy, they could call our 800 number, 800-659-2955, and request a paper copy.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you very much for this information to help some of our businesses and our renters and homeowners.
And that's what folks don't know, is that we do help homeowners and renters, businesses and nonprofits, and like I say, so we're here to help, so.
Well, good. Well, thank you very
Okay.
much.
All right.
Nice meeting
Thank
you,
Thank you much.
Jim. Okay. First public comment period. This is an opportunity for residents to comment on items appearing on the agenda of the town board meeting tonight. The public comment period should last 15 minutes maximum. Each speaker may speak only once, and each speaker shall be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes speaking time. Okay, Julie Casca?
Good evening, Julie Casca, 91 Susan Drive, Depew, Town of Cheektowaga. I'm here again this month without repeating a lot of what I said last month, which I know you've heard my statements. I'm here on behalf of Vicki Leader and myself. She apologizes she could not be here this evening. There was a death in her family. So I have her permission to speak on behalf of her and myself, and we're both on board with this. I would like to first ask if the state, and I don't mean to name names, but Mr. Pilarski, you had asked if the state was going to come in and address the board on any information possible to give you a better idea of a decision to make on the vote for this evening. Were you able to meet with the state representative for that information?
I did talk to someone from the governor's office, yes, but they weren't able to come and present or anything. But
Okay,
I
thank
did
you.
personally talk to someone, yes.
Were you able to share that with your colleagues in the work session because I wasn't able to make it?
It was, in my opinion, it was all in support of the resolution being put, so it was, in my opinion, biased. It's kind of like talking to the gas
Like I
company
mentioned,
on why we should be all gas, or talk to the electric on why it should be all electric.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that you listened to them and that you brought them in. I still stand behind that we need to put bipartisan politics aside like the Erie County legislator did, as you all know, an 11-0 vote. Because when it comes to common sense, there is no common sense to this. There are valid points. Mr. Nowak, you made some yourself, sir, and I thank you for that because I do listen. However, the blizzard, how many more people would have died if I, thank the Lord, didn't lose my power, if I hadn't had my gas? You have elderly people, compromised people who may not be elderly, people who need oxygen who can't afford generators, low-income families, the city of Buffalo. It could have been even more detrimental and would have made work more hard for our first responders, our EMTs, our firemen, and the police who did a phenomenal job within the resources they had. I ask politely and respectfully for everybody to do what you would want to do best for your families, your friends, and your loved ones, not just for this town, but for New York State. Thank you for your time on behalf of Vicki Leader and myself.
Okay, thank you, Julie. Lou Chetty? I don't know if I pronounced your last name right, but do you want to, well, I don't think I can get that microphone to you. Can you come up here and speak? I didn't. He's got part of Julie's minutes.
We'll give him Dave's minutes.
Well, she had 48 seconds. How's that? So I will start it. Are you ready?
Yep. Lou Polichetti, I'm on Dartwood Drive in Cheektowaga. I've been a resident for 58 years. And I'm here asking the town board to oppose the changeover for all electric. It's totally ridiculous, okay? The infrastructure in the town is inadequate to support everybody having electric heat and electric stoves. It's, you know, most services in the town are probably 100 amp. To comply with the town, with the state's thing, you're probably gonna need a 400 amp service in the house. How much that's gonna cost, I don't know, and I think most of the people aren't prepared to do that. Okay. The lack of proper infrastructure for the power companies, it's proved itself with the last storm. You had people going a week long without power, as said earlier. And it's just weird. I don't know where the people are coming up with this idea. Some of our meetings I've been to, our firemen talking about the electric cars and the lithium batteries. They're a monster hanging over everybody's head. And yeah, I would like the town board to support opposing this changeover to, you know, lack of heating or cooking in the house with gas. So that's what I have for now. So,
Well, thank you, Lou. Thank you for taking the time to come out tonight.
okay. So, thank you much.
Okay, that's all we have for the speakers for tonight. So I'll call this portion of the public comment period to a close, and we'll move on to the public hearings. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. Madam Clerk, the first public hearing?
I have a call for public hearing that was made at the February 28th Town Board meeting, Resolution 2023-118, to discuss the proposed increase and improvement of facilities of the Consolidated Sewer District, consisting of replacement of repair of sanitary sewers, including related or ancillary work in connection therewith, as described in the report prepared for the town by Nussbaumer and Clark, Inc., a competent and duly licensed engineering company in New York State. At said public meeting, the town board will hear all persons interested in the subject matter. I will say that my office received no correspondence in response to this public hearing.
Mark Crystal, do you want to speak on this? I see you here today. I mean, oh, all right. So it was sewer shed 9 and 10, or 8 and 9?
Yeah, there's 4 phases to that, yeah, so we got sewer sheds 9 and 10, the repairs associated with that. We have the replacement of the 80-year-old force main and the electrical service upgrade to our Union Island pump station. And then we have the replacement of sanitary sewers in conjunction with our road reconstruction on Raymond Street, Shanley Street, Willow Lawn, Meadow Lawn, and Pleasant, in the south section of town. So
Okay.
there's 3 pieces of that that we broke down, I'm sorry, 4 pieces of that when we discussed at the work session 2 meetings ago for our 23-24 capital improvement project.
I know. I've seen it many a time, but I don't think everybody has, so that's why I'm asking. Okay, nobody had asked to speak. Does anybody want to speak on behalf of this project or these projects? Okay, then I will call this public hearing to a close. And we'll move on to the next one.
A call for public hearing was made at the February 28th Town Board meeting, Resolution 2023-119, to discuss the request for a special use permit regarding code compliance of an existing drive-through submitted by 716 Dilly, Inc. on behalf of Shelby's Place LLC for the establishment at 465 French Road, Cheektowaga, New York, 14227. All parties and/or residents considered that have interest would be given an opportunity to submit their stance on the proposed in either vocal or written format. No correspondence was received by the clerk's office.
There was none? This is about the Dairy Queen on French and Kelly, I believe. Is the owner here tonight? Do you want to speak or not? Okay. So they're just doing some modifications to their drive-through on French Road. So nobody asked to speak, so I will call this public comment period to a close, and we'll move on to 1551 Harlem.
A call for public hearing was made at the February 28th Town Board meeting, Resolution 2023-120, to discuss the request of a special use permit regarding the proposed continuation of the code compliance drive-through development pre-current statute establishment, requiring a special use permit submitted by AUU Development for the establishment of 1551 Harlem Road, Cheektowaga, New York, 14227. All parties and/or residents considered in interest would be given an opportunity to submit their stance on the proposed in either vocal or written format regarding the proposed special use permit request. I did receive one email on this earlier today.
And you're the developer?
Good evening. My name is Dave Sutton from Sutton Architecture, and I'm here to present the special use permit request for basically resetting or reusing an existing drive-through. Here to present today that we're really not making any physical changes to the exterior of the building. The nature of the business will change. We are going to be utilizing the existing drive-through. We have submitted a full site plan through Carmina Wood, and they have presented or represented that we have the available stacking, we have location of the existing intercom system, existing lighting, existing landscaping. Once again, unless this board or any neighbors have any concerns that we are more than willing to address this evening, we really want to just reuse the existing drive-through that's already been approved.
And that's the Hot Dog
Improvement.
Heaven?
That is correct.
And you're changing it into a
Tim Hortons.
Tim Hortons?
Mhm.
Okay. I do have one person that signed up to speak.
Okay.
Melissa Dolan? So, yeah, I want to give her a chance to speak. Hello, Melissa.
Hi, good evening. First, I'd like to comment a little bit on this process. So, as with the credit union, there is always an opportunity to submit comments beforehand, but there's no information to submit comments. So, the certified letter only stated that it would be a drive-through at 1551 Harlem. On the surface, that sounds benign. Oh my gosh, there's a drive-through there, just switch it over. But this application was a little more dubious than that. I Google searched the company name, and the company runs Tim Hortons franchises. There was no way to clearly find that out. So all of my neighbors just received a notice that said, hi, we're switching drive-through for drive-through, and they think it's not going to be anything. The volume for a Tim Hortons drive-through, though, is very different than Hot Dog Heaven. That's basically almost a defunct business. You almost never see cars there at this point. So with elderly residents who don't even know how to Google, you know, the fact the way the proposal is presented for us to come and present comments isn't necessarily resident-friendly. What I would like to take into consideration is I know this summer with the credit union, all of you said, oh, it'll look prettier on that corner. Well, your approval should not be based on pretty or the fact that there's already a drive-through there. I would like you to address what it is to live on Harlem. Living on the residential block of Harlem, closest to William, we already face daily challenges. During peak rush hour, it takes several turns of the light to even to leave our property. It's either finding a break in the light because it's either the north-south traffic that is a problem, or then it's the turnings coming from William, or people exiting Rite Aid. There's also challenges already with the existing businesses and the people that will have ingress and egress from those businesses. Those patrons always have a me-first approach, and they will cut you off, cut across multiple lanes in that intersection for their own benefit. There's also a high volume of through traffic because people will try to avoid delays on the 90 when they will go north-south on Harlem instead of taking the 90, or they will go east-west on William to avoid the 33 or the 190 when there are delays. I also ask you to consider that you have made it clear as this board that our houses that are residential should stay residential. You are then landlocking us and almost holding us hostage because everything else around us continues to grow as commercial. The new credit union will have a drive-through and cars in the queue. Tim Hortons is a high-volume business, which is very different. So now we are stuck being residential with growing commercial. And at the same time, you are then also asking us to pay higher property values and raising our assessments, where our value, though, is people are not going to buy our houses for residential when the Tim Hortons is what you are seeing. Also, there is a lighting issue, and I know you say you will address site plans, but when there are lights and signage, I can't open my front windows as it is, and I can't open my blinds because of the credit union. So those are other impacts to our residential houses in that area. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you. Who's the committee co-chairs for planning and zoning? Are you or,
I'm one.
I think, Chris, aren't you? with
I
Ryan?
believe Chris is the chair and I'm the second, yes.
Maybe talk to them about how they're writing the letter, right? Because you don't send that out. It comes right from the planning and zoning or, yeah. So if you could talk to them about how they're, these are very good points. And even when they're putting the resolution in, they have to say what's going in there, because I had to look up 1551, and I wanted to see what we were voting on. So it would be nice to know what the project is. You know, did any council members have any comments on it? Yes.
I have a couple questions.
Mhm.
So one of them is not related to the site plan, I think the other three are, but starting with curb cuts, there's no proposal to change the curb cuts on the property at all, correct?
Absolutely no modifications to ingress or egress to the property, or parking spaces, drive aisles, allocations. Really, this is a special use permit because of the change in occupancy. And once again, this is an opportunity for us to take a look at an existing situation, talk with the neighbors. We did check with the building department. They formally reviewed their files, found no formal complaints, but that doesn't always mean that there aren't issues that need to be addressed. My client is more than willing to look at the lighting situation, any screening, any existing vegetation or natural buffers that need to be upgraded. We'll gladly address all of those issues during this approval process. It'll be a great opportunity for us to take a drive-through, which has been approved, maybe underutilized, but also take a look at it to see if we can make a better correction to it.
The next question I had was actually about the lighting. If you go to Tim Hortons and some other fast food places now, these menu boards, back in the day they had those fluorescent tubes in there, they weren't terribly bright. What's in a lot of the boards in these places, they're really bright now. Like I'm thinking of the one on Walden Avenue by Basil. If you go in there at 5:30 in the morning, it's like that's lighting up the entire world. So one of the worries I have about this is how bright that menu board would
Yeah.
be. I'd like assurance that it's something that could be adjusted and turned down
Yep.
for residential around there.
Without a doubt.
Along with the other lighting, you know?
Tim Hortons has different ranges of almost every stock item, including the menu board. So we can be assured that when we install that, they'll either be dimmable in nature, or it'll be the lowest level that would be respectful to any adjacent neighbors.
The third question I had was about the car stacking. If you go to the Tim's again, I don't know if you're familiar with the Walden Avenue location at all,
I am.
next to Basil, you have a long drive-through where you can probably stack, I would say you probably stack 20 cars, maybe more, that are outside of that line. I mean, do you think you can get that many cars in this
Yeah.
site?
I have a representation here on the board, and actually, I have probably a better one here, which I can provide. I have a smaller one. It shows formally 16 cars, which is required by code, and you can see there's plenty of space for more. I'll be glad to.
Can you come in either off of William
William.
or Harlem?
William or Harlem. So we need to designate a minimum of 16 parking spaces, which is obviously your code standard. That's what's represented, but as you can see in the site plan, there's actually more than available for dual entrances, and there is the ability to stack in excess of probably 20 cars.
And that's, I'm looking at it here, because I was thinking about it, is if you come in from William Street, I can see how you can have 12 cars, especially if you have a lot of pickup trucks, maybe fewer than that, where you might have the issue where it's coming out onto William, but if it curls around, and the only way you can come into that drive-through is off of Harlem Road, you can stack an additional 6 to 10 cars
That's
that way.
correct.
So
Yes, Councilmember.
I have some reservation on this because I see it daily happening at the Bailey William Tim Hortons. There's 2 access points set up similar to the way it is at Hot Dog Heaven. And yeah, it's great and ideal if they're wrapping around into that parking lot coming in off of Bailey for Bailey and William, and in this case would be Harlem. But that's not the case. They stack out into the road to William, and then they'll go down to William, taking up that one lane on the right. So now cars have to pass that lane, and it's on the corner, so now trying to make a right around that, it creates a hot mess over there.
That's what I'm
And
thinking.
we've seen this at many Tim Hortons throughout town. I don't think you'll be able to get 16 cars there. So that's 16 cars going butt to butt. Cars don't go up like that way. You kind of stay a little further away and stuff like that, so that would even be less. Knowing what's going there, I have a little reservation, and I think with the residents in that area just finding out also what it is that's going there, it's not an easy swap to say, hey, it's one drive-through for another. The resident was spot on. And I don't want to close this public comment period today because I'd like to give the residents in that area another opportunity to speak on the
Alright.
matter, for just finding out that, hey, it's a Tim Hortons too, because that's a game changer.
Yeah, and many of these items came up with our conversations with the building department, and we did explore a couple of things. Number one is the gentleman that's going to be running this franchise of Tim Hortons. He's well aware of the parking concerns that have been established. Truth be told, Tim Hortons is very different now because they are putting many more locations in to take the demand off of other locations. The idea is there's a perceived demand here because of the volume that's at adjacent locations. So they're picking this one here, not to create more volume, but to take a burden off of some of the other ones. And they do not feel as if they're going to be having that burden that they're having as existing locations that maybe have grown beyond capacity. The other thing is the concern of the stackability. We did talk with the building department, Mr. Colburn, and talked about the possibility of even closing off William as an entrance, so it would not spill into the streets to allow for all the stacking. We kind of mutually agreed that that might not be the best solution because it might act as more of a circulation problem than the solution it would solve. And we feel really that the volume, because of the selection of this location, taking a burden off of some of the other locations, we're not going to be seeing that major volume that you're seeing at some of the other spaces.
So do you propose any different traffic devices? Because I'm just thinking, me as a consumer driving down Holland Road headed south, and I want to make a left into that parking lot, and, you know, I think of the Tim Hortons over on Union and Lawson, and I know I get off the William Street exit, I go down to Union, make a right, and then
Right.
now you've got two lanes of car lanes making left-hand turns, so, and it's just a disaster. I mean, do you have any proposal to maybe change some of the traffic devices over there?
In the public street, I don't think we have the ability as an individual to do that, although we would be open to working with the town if they felt that changing any of the traffic devices at the
That's-
intersection
That's a
was
state
appropriate.
DOT that
We
would be
would-
taken up with them and would take
Yeah,
a
we
long
would be more
process.
than willing to work
Yeah, I'm not
with
sure
them
how
to
we
do
did it
that.
with, because Union is also state
Yeah,
DOT.
I think
when
that's
that
all
went in.
state DOT when it comes to
So,
traffic
I'm not
signals,
sure.
curb cuts and all that. That's outside of the town board's control, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at this drawing here, though, and I don't know if it's possible, if even the pickup window was changed to the back end here, that may allow more cars to stack in and
Correct.
not flow into the street of William and Harlem. And I understand your point you're making, hey, if we build another one, it'll alleviate some of the demand on the other ones, but I'm not seeing that at the Bailey and William location, and there's a Tim Hortons every other block. It's Bailey Clinton, Bailey Seneca, Bailey William, and that Bailey William is still a major problem there.
Yeah.
And those other two ones, which are newer, didn't help that.
Yeah, and once again, I don't want to compare some other existing problems to this one. I feel like we have the proper car stacks here, and it will not spill onto the street. We're going to do everything we can to be neighbor-friendly. We did talk about relocating the reader board to allow for more stacking. Once again, in going over all this with the building department, we felt as if what we put together was probably an appropriate scenario. We're not opposed to relocating the menu boards. It does add for some complications to the building because of the location of a walk-in cooler and a lot of redesign, but not out of the question by any means.
Last question I had was, do you know the hours of operation? Would this be a 24/7? Do they plan to close on the overnights?
Yeah, I don't think they're intending on being open 24 hours. That's just not something that they do at many of the locations anymore. Yeah, and I think COVID has changed how everybody does business now. But obviously, it's a morning business, and the high volume would be probably in the morning time. And then I would say for into the evening, it would close on demand, but probably not past, I would say, 9 o'clock or so. But I can confirm that with you, for sure.
Anybody else?
Supervisor, I do have the comments that I received.
Oh, yes,
To share?
please, please do.
Okay. We have comments from Jennifer Pydnowski. She's writing to say that she is a neighbor on the William Harlem area. She's located just a couple doors away on William. She's writing with concerns about the special use exception for 1551 Harlem Road. I'm sure my concerns are the same as everyone in that area. My worry is backing up the traffic on William Harlem, especially during heavy traffic times. I'm hopeful that lighting, hours of operations, and the placement of the drive-through will come with consideration of the neighborhood. Harlem's a very busy area during the morning and evening commutes, and bringing more traffic to that corner is troublesome. My thoughts are that the neighbors would be significantly disturbed by an overwhelming amount of noise, lights, and traffic if the drive-through is not positioned in such a way to utilize the spacing which would make the least amount of impact for those living in the close proximity. Please take our neighborhood into consideration when making decisions concerning this new business. Thank you for your time.
Was there any other? Okay.
Another good point is there's going to be more traffic at times that the community and the neighbors in that area aren't used to. So 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m. They're not serving hot dogs, at that time. So that could become an issue as well for those residents there.
Yeah, and once again, it's our goal to be a good neighbor, no doubt, and fix any thing we can do in terms of traffic flow and pattern throughout the property. We are limited in terms of our ability to impact traffic signaling and stuff. So we're willing to work with, obviously, this board and any other entities of the town that would allow us to do it. We would definitely like to see some life brought into this building. I think nobody wants to see an underutilized building. And bringing life to this building does bring on its challenges, but we're more than willing to work with the town at all capacities to do what we can to make sure we're respectful to the neighbors.
Yeah, thank you. I myself was looking at that traffic pattern and that William Street entrance. And if you have the stacking going around, what's going to happen to those cars? Are they going to have to go in and try to get in line like that way, or?
Well, you mean from William and from
From
Harlem?
William, and you have the stacking, through your whole parking lot, but, it's more on towards Harlem, not William.
Yeah, I think.
And then you're going to have fights of who's coming in on William, and somebody's already in line, and.
Yeah, there's many applications in Tim Hortons that have merging drive-throughs.
Okay.
And there is a good faith effort of, kind of courtesy, who's next type of program. And for the most part, it works pretty well. On occasion, you're going to get an aggressive individual that might not want to wait their turn. But I don't think that's common. I think that's a very atypical
What about like that
situation.
one you have on the corner of Union and William?
Mhm.
They have the two ordering lanes.
Right.
That
So,
kind of gets the traffic off stuff.
yeah, I mean, obviously, we're working with an existing drive-through. Our goal was to be as compatible as possible and adjust our program to an already existing drive-through. So that's kind of the
More
approach we took,
expensive, yeah.
because we didn't want to go reinventing and putting double lanes in. We, once again, don't feel as if the volume is going to be great. I mean, we hope that it's a healthy volume, but we don't feel it's going to spill onto the streets. And we would be more than willing to say, if this gets approved, and there is a problem with it coming onto William, we might have a fallback in place and make that William an exit only in response to a demand, as opposed to putting it in place now, which might create more difficulties than.
If we can do something like
Right.
that,
And
we're
that's where we would like
contingent upon
to
another
show our
traffic.
willingness to work with you.
Would you have the space on the eastern side of the property to do a double lane?
No. Not, we could if we redefined all the parking coming up to the building, but it would pinch down to one. And once again, they would change all the parking criteria and everything. Right now, we're not changing anything with an already approved site plan. We felt that was the best
But I
approach.
think if we closed off that William Street, if there was a problem, people coming in on William,
But-
and they'd have to come in on Harlem. to get in line.
But if you make William an exit only, then you've got cars exiting on the Harlem, crossing 3 lanes of traffic to make that left.
Mhm.
So there could be safety hazards there with cars turning the corner from Harlem, making rights.
Yeah,
So you run into issues there.
Truth be told, if we made it an exit only, it would probably be a non-used driveway. I mean, it might even get eliminated entirely. Which, once again, reviewing that, and for the sake of the property and circulation of traffic, it's not the best scenario, especially for 95% of the time when there is no backup onto William. But we don't want to give that up unless it's because there's an actual problem, as opposed to giving it up now and creating complications, which might not be realistic.
Right, and if you make it an exit, that doesn't necessarily mean people are gonna abide by it being an exit. They might say, screw it, I'm not gonna go around to the other side, I'm just gonna pull hair.
And that's what Mr. Coburn said, and it might be a good solution to have a fallback of that being eliminated entirely, but he didn't want to see that eliminated
Okay.
right out of the gate, because we didn't know if it was going to be a problem.
We don't know, and yeah,
Right.
you're right. And if we can make a contingent upon, any problems, we might have to modify
Yeah,
the plan.
and once again, we'll work with you. I'm not quite, I don't know how to present that to you today, but we can
Well, we'll have to
definitely
talk
do
to
that.
Rick. He's not here tonight. Is anybody here from Rick Colburn's office? No? Yeah, I don't know why he did. It's a public hearing. Okay. So we're going to keep this open until the next meeting, this public hearing,
Okay.
okay?
And what I'll do is I'll reevaluate some of the comments that the public made, and I'll be prepared to maybe address some of those more specific. I can maybe do a little visit to the site, check out the lighting, but I can't say publicly that we'll do whatever we have to do to put the appropriate shields or replace the heads and redirect any lighting that might be spilling onto neighboring properties.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. So we will continue with this hearing until the next meeting. Yeah. Well, you're going to have to come to the mic only because you're on YouTube. They can't hear you.
Will the residents be notified that it is a Tim Hortons? For those who weren't able to Google or wouldn't Google to find out the name of the company, as Councilmember Pilarski said, like, that's a game changer for people who don't realize what's really coming into their neighborhood. They think it's just a drive-through replacement. Some of them could have just thought it's hot dog heaven, needing to recertify their current drive-through. This is a completely different business.
Well, we
how
have
would that notification-
Councilmember Adamzak and Councilmember Nowak are going to talk to Rick Coburn and our town planner about possibly resending a new
Sending a
notice.
second notice?
And about the hearing again for the next meeting. I think there's time to do that, and they don't send it to everybody. I mean, there's you gotta be within a certain amount. Yeah, yes.
But still.
So they can resend that, making sure people know it's a Tim Hortons.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so I think we got it all set till the next meeting. So we'll move on from here, go on to the consent agenda announcement. Tonight, we have a consent agenda as part of this meeting. If any council member wishes to remove an item for discussion, please tell me now, and I will remove the item from the consent agenda, and it will be added as a separate resolution item. Is anything? No? Okay, then I need a motion and a second to approve the meeting agenda as presented. Councilmember Jazinski?
Do we have to go from the table first?
Well, we're doing the consent agenda approval.
Sorry.
Approval of the meeting agenda.
Gotcha.
So I got Councilmember Jazinski as the first
I'll second.
and Councilmember Hammer as the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Then we're going to do the resolution from the table. Madam Clerk, could you read the resolution, or do you have a?
Yes. Resolution 2023-129, sponsored by Councilmember Jazinski, Adamzak, and Supervisor Benchkowski. Governor Hochul, State of the State Address contained a proposal to end the sale of new fossil-powered heating equipment by 2030 by calling for construction of all new construction needs to be zero emissions, starting in 2025 for small buildings and 2028 for large buildings. A ban on natural gas appliances and water heaters is not feasible for Western New York with harsh winter weather and exposed electrical infrastructure. Alternatives to natural gas-powered heating have yet to be proven reliable as a sole-source heating system in cold weather climates. The cost to transition the state's energy infrastructure grid should go through a more thorough review to understand how this will impact the energy production and distribution system as a whole, as well as the impact on residential energy systems before any action is taken.
Okay, so on the question, Councilmember Hammer, you wanted to make an amendment?
I did.
Proposed.
On the third whereas, the third paragraph, I have spoke with Councilmember Jasinski. We've worked together a couple times on the phone. We were probably on an hour each time going through this, and we came up with a solution to that paragraph that both of us can live with. So I'm amending it to say the current language is, whereas the state's proposal is intended to help address climate change, but could create a burden on our region's working class residents. 2, whereas the state's proposal is intended to help address climate change may affect future generations. The development of renewable and sustainable energy technology that is inexpensive and reliable, therefore creating no burden on the region's working class residents.
Okay, do I have a second? Councilmember Jasinski?
Second?
I think they worked on it together. Okay, who's all in favor for the amendment? Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, amendment is carried. So then we have Councilmember Noack is going to present. Let's do maybe
Yep, I have-
each amendment separately.
Sure, I have a few amendments, but briefly, just wanted to speak to the grid reliability. So there's a lot I said at the work session. I just want to summarize this quickly about folks that are worried about the grid, the various reasons why. Skilled trade shortage, there's a shortage on electricians. The power storage, making sure you can get new renewable power into batteries. Permitting projects has taken over a decade to get high voltage transmission lines up. Building enough solar and wind. We're hearing that projects that are getting approved or planned, they're not getting built nearly as often or quickly as people are thinking. Upgrading substations, upgrading transformers, putting household solar into a system where the energy flow is one way from power generation to the house. Now we're talking two-way with energy inverters and a lot of solar on all these houses. That creates some strain on the existing system. And you can even get into National Grid and NYSEG's reports about improving their systems and all that, but there are real problems with this, and they're itemized there. I know folks are thinking that, this is overblown in terms of fear of the grid. These are some of the reasons it's not. But the amendments I had, 2 of them are very simple. The first one I wanted to move on was adding the word currently to the 4th whereas.
So it would read, whereas a ban on natural gas appliances and water heaters is not currently feasible for Western New York with harsh winter weather and exposed electrical infrastructure. And then the rest of it stays the same, that's it, whereas. Do I have a second on that amendment? Councilmember Pilarski? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That amendment is carried. The second amendment, Councilmember Noack.
In the 6th whereas, we talked about the affordability for people. So this technology works, but it's real expensive. Just gotta be straight about that. And it's a big upfront investment. So I just wanted to add the words both affordable and.
Okay. So we'll read, whereas what is more, alternatives to natural gas-powered heating have yet to be proven both affordable and reliable as a sole source heating system in cold weather climates, right? Do I have a second on that? Councilmember Pilarski, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried on that amendment. And the third one?
The third one, maybe a little bit more division here, but if we're using 20% of the natural gas that gets used every year in our country alone. At some point, we're going to become net importers of natural gas, as we're taking a lot out of the ground to fuel our electric grid and power our homes directly, or to heat our homes directly and do those kind of things. Most of the worldwide natural gas is in Russia, Iran, and Qatar. We had an energy crisis in the 70s where we were really real dependent on foreign oil. And we saw our gas prices spike up 50 years ago during the 73, oil crisis. So I had an amendment that reads as follows to speak to that and to recognize that we're part of a world market for energy. It says, whereas Russia, Iran, and Qatar are home to the majority of proven worldwide gas reserves. The U.S. is the top consumer of natural gas, and the oil crisis of the 1970s is a lesson that we should reduce our fossil fuel dependence in addition to the detrimental impact methane emissions and natural gas leaks have on our communities.
Okay, so do I have a second on that amendment? Councilmember Pilarski. On the question, anyone? I myself have a problem with adding this whereas. It's almost contradictory. Well, it is contradictory to the rest of the language that we have in this proposal.
Right, and it doesn't pertain to where we get our natural gas. Here in western New York, we get all our natural gas locally from the Adirondacks and from Alabama. So, on the world stage, yes, Russia is the biggest producer of natural gas, but Russia really has nothing to do with our consumption here.
Just my point on it is that's the case now. You're correct in the case now, but eventually we're going to become an importer if we don't change our energy mix.
Well, it's called natural gas for a reason, because it's natural. All the electric that we all use in our home is man-made. And guess what powers it? Fossil fuel. So no matter whatever route we go, we still have to mine our natural resources. So that's why they call it natural gas, because it's natural.
Okay, so we have anybody else on the question? Councilmember Noah proposed this amendment. We have Councilmember Pilarski seconding the amendment. Could I have a roll call vote on this, just the amendment, this third amendment?
Councilmember Adamzak? No. Councilmember Hammer? No. Councilmember Jazinski?
No.
Councilmember Nowak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pilarski?
Yes.
Supervisor Benchkowski?
No.
We have 4 noes, 2 yeses. The motion is defeated.
So just that part of the resolution will not be amended, but the rest as proposed will be amended. Okay. So anybody else on the question? Are we all in favor? Aye? Or
Take
do
a
we-
roll call vote, please.
Roll call vote, okay.
This is a roll call vote on the amended resolution. Councilmember Adamzak? Yes. Councilmember Hammer? Yes. Councilmember Jazinski?
No.
Councilmember Nowak?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I thought you did.
Councilmember Pilarski?
Yes.
Supervisor Benchkowski?
Yes.
So we have 5 yes.
Well, you're voting now on the whole resolution,
He was voting on all the amendments.
as amended, except for the
resolution
one.
as
I think we
amended.
should have voted as Mr. Nowak's colleagues from the legislator did. I mean, they all voted unanimously. I just think this is a way to drag our feet. And as I said before, I met with Mr. Nowak yesterday. This has been proposed 2 months in advance. We had one phone call, and I tried to educate him on, the usage of heat pumps, which he's ignorant of, and I respect that. But, to try to say that, this is, one size fits all, it's just not, good for our environment.
We had a phone call 8 days ago where I did bring up adding the word currently.
Well, can we let him finish? Okay, go ahead.
I did bring the first of the 3 amendments to your attention, and our phone call was about 30 minutes. We didn't get an opportunity to discuss the other 2, but I did bring the first to your attention.
Yes, and which I wasn't in favor of.
Okay, Attorney Duziak? Right. Except for that last one, we didn't add that extra language in. just those minor changes, just so you know. You're clear with that.
But he also didn't support any of the amendments. I think that's what his point he's making right there, is he didn't
Oh.
support any of those amendments, so therefore he's not supporting the fully amended
I
one
thought
with
he
those.
did.
Not any from Councilmember Noah.
No, you didn't? I'm sorry. I thought you
The
did.
only thing I agree to is what Linda and I decided to.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm against it.
All right, so you're
Thanks.
not in favor, so we probably should take you off of this resolution then, as a mover. If you're going to vote no on this. You don't want to move this, right? Or do you want to still?
No, it could stay, I think. I mean, it went through 5-1, and I said this earlier, is
Yes.
we made this so damn political that it's, yeah, we're putting in Russia, Iran, and Qatar. What does that got to do with Cheektowaga? Well, what does the White House and Biden have to do with
But we
Cheektowaga?
didn't, we didn't
What does
put that,
California
yeah.
have to do with Cheektowaga? That's all in this resolution, where we could have gotten it through with 2 sentences saying, whereas the town of Cheektowanga's infrastructure is not, compatible for this change, whereas we don't support this, resolution put through by the governor. Could have been done. Instead, we spent the first month with a resolution that was copied and pasted from Lancaster that was incorrect, and now we got this resolution, and we're still debating on it. It passed 5-1. Let's be done. We made it very damn political. Let's move forward.
So we did the roll call vote, so you voted no on it. So what did you have as the roll call vote? 5-1?
We have
Yep.
5-1. The amended resolution is approved. And
Okay.
he can still be a mover on it,
Okay.
because he
that's
moved the
fine.
original.
He did. Okay. So a motion's carried on that one. So we'll move on, Madam Clerk, to the consent agenda.
I have a motion by Supervisor Benchkowski, a second by Councilmember Pilarski, to approve all items on the consent agenda, including the meeting minutes of February 28th, 2023, and resolution items 2023-140 through 166. I'd like to recognize that 163 does not appear on the list. I need a roll call vote to approve all the consent agenda items. Councilmember Adamzak? Yes. Councilmember Hammer? Yes. Councilmember Jazinski?
Yes.
Councilmember Nowak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pilarski?
Yes.
Supervisor Benchkowski?
Yes.
Consent items are approved. We pulled no resolutions off of our consent agenda, so we do have waiver items. I need a motion and a second to waive the rules to include resolution items 2023-167, 168, and 169. Councilmember Hammer, second.
Councilmember
Councilmember
Pilarski.
Pilarski, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Resolution 2023-167 is sponsored by Councilmember Nowak, seconded by Supervisor Benchkowski. It is a resolution in order after public hearing, after the public hearing. The town board adopted an order describing in general terms the proposed increase and improvement of such facilities, specifying the estimated cost thereof, and stating the town board met to hear all persons interested in said increase and improvement of facilities on the March 14th, 2023 town board meeting, presided at 7 p.m. at the Town Hall, 3301 Broadway Street, Cheektowaga. It is hereby determined that it is in the public's best interest to increase and improve the facilities of the district, of the Consolidated Sewer District, and an estimated maximum cost of $2,750,000. The expenses of said increase and improvement of facilities shall be financed by the issuance of a $2,750,000 bond.
Okay, on the question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Resolution 2023-168 is sponsored by Councilmember Adamzak, seconded by Supervisor Benchkowski. The town clerk is hereby directed to publish a notice to bidders for the acceptance of disposal of yard waste, accepting therefrom highway debris generated in the collection by the town of Cheektowaga from June 1st, 2023 through May 31st, 2026. It is bid item 2023-18. The sealed bids will be reviewed and will be received, by Wednesday, April 12th, 2023, and 11 a.m. bid opening to be held in the council chambers in Cheektowaga Town Hall.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Resolution 2023-169 is sponsored by Councilmember Pilarski, seconded by Councilmember Adamzak. On April 21st, 2022, the town of Cheektowaga entered into an agreement for pre-hospital emergency services with LaSalle Ambulance, DBA American Medical Response, or AMR. Section 215, penalties of that agreement, states that municipality, upon recommendations of the EMS board, shall impose a fine or penalty upon ambulance services for any default of this agreement. Section 215 penalty further states that the fine penalties will be $500 for each default by ambulance service for any term or condition of this agreement. The town board believes that AMR has defaulted under the terms of the agreement. Based on the recommendations of the EMS board and the terms of the agreement between the town and AMR, the town shall impose a fine upon AMR in the amount of $500 per section 2.15 penalties of said agreement.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
All resolution items are complete. Communications, as far as departmental communications, we received the supervisor's statement of funds of November 2022, minutes from the Veterans Affairs Committee of February 1st, 2023, and the minutes from the Traffic Safety Commission of February 21st, 2023. General communications, we received one notice of claim.
Okay, I have no supervisors' comments. Any council members? Councilmember
do.
Noack?
Yeah, I just wanted to read a little bit about a letter from Erie County Comptroller Kevin Harwick, and it's relative to what's called Enhanced Federal Medical Assistance Benefits Percentage, or FMAP. So it says, the governor's 23-24 proposed New York State budget makes a significant change to the Enhanced Federal Medical Assistance Percentage, FMAP, federal funding that has been provided to the states as part of the Affordable Care Act for 10 years. Due to the magnitude of the proposal, Mr. Harwick wants to address the county legislature. So in the letter, it talks about how Erie County, in the course of a year in 2023, could stand to lose millions of dollars. Hardwick notes it's around $41 million. The county legislature itself put the number around $26.7 million, a little bit under that. But it's a lot of money for the county and county property taxes. And got legislator Tadaro in the audience tonight, so I want to commend him and all the members of the county legislature for the action they took to draw attention to this and call on the state to restore this funding. In the state Senate budget, they call for restoring these funds, because if we don't get these Medicaid dollars going to Erie County, that can mean a significant increase for the county portion of property taxes. So I appreciate the county executives across the state that have taken action, the various county legislatures, and it's been unanimous action trying to restore these funds, and for the state Senate making the push in their budget to get this money to come back to Erie County.
Any other council members? Okay, we'll move on to the public comment. This is an opportunity for residents to comment on matters involving Cheektowaga. The public comment period should last 15 minutes maximum. Each speaker may speak only once, thank you, and each speaker shall be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes speaking time. Okay, we're gonna have to hold it to 3 minutes because we have quite a few speakers. So first one is Julie Kaska.
Good evening again, Julie Kaska, 91 Susan Drive in Depew. I didn't know what I was going to say until I got up here. I'm proud of you. I thank Councilmember Jasinski, Councilmember Adamczak, Supervisor Diane Bachkowski for putting forth a resolution to send a note to Albany that you're not in favor of banning fossil fuels and natural gas. I understand Mr. Nowak's concerns. I'm glad to be here to learn about those. I also thank Councilmember Pilarski and whoever else was involved in bringing this state in, and I pretty much knew what they were going to say, like you said. I also understand Councilmember Jasinski, and with respect as to why you said no, and that's duly noted. On behalf of myself, and I'm sure many other residents who unfortunately can be keyboard warriors and not sit here in solidarity or have the nerve to get up and speak, they thank you as well. I have a saying. There's a saying out there, Mama tried to raise a lady, but Daddy raised a lady who doesn't tolerate any baloney. That's really not the saying, but I'll put it politely. I'm always going to be known who's one who comes up and speaks politely, firmly, and for the betterment of mankind. And lastly, although she couldn't be here, she had a death in the family, I'd like to thank Vicki Leader and her team of people who just recently put together a first responders thank you party at Bellevue Fire Hall to thank our police, our EMTs, and our first responders for everything they could physically and mentally do during the blizzard to keep us all safe. And I'd also like to thank Legislator Frank Tadaro and Councilmember Bob Leary from the Lancaster Town Board to be here in support of us this evening in regards to resolution to not ban fossil fuels. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Julie. Reverend Rick Masano?
You took away what I was gonna say. I've been thinking about it for weeks. We talked about it yesterday. I'm gonna tell you something. I am totally disgusted with our state. All right? I'm not talking about us guys here, state. What they've done. With bail reform is a total disaster. With gun reform is a total disaster, especially for people trying to protect their places of worship. All right? Now this thing with the gas, natural gas, and now they want to shove Medicaid back down our throats again for the residents to pay. Where does this end? Where does this end? You know, I'd like to see more of our elected state representatives, people here. And I thank God we have one person here from Monica Wallace's staff that will bring some of this information. Start protecting us, all right? We voted you people in to protect us, the residents, not the party, not the Democratic Party, not the Republican Party, not the Independence Party, working families, the residents of Cheektowaga. And I tell you what, we're getting hurt, and it's enough. My understanding is, as a UAW representative, we had a CAP meeting, and we had some of our people are at Albany right now lobbying with our representatives, so-called, to push Senator Kennedy's bill to freeze property taxes for seniors. How many people know about that? Nobody. All right? I got the number from Adam. All right? He called me up or he emailed me, give me the number of it. But you know what? UAW is going behind it. We need help. We need help. But nobody so far that I know of, unless it's changed, you could tell me if it's changed, no assembly person would pick up the resolution. Not one. And these are representing us. What's going on here? So please, I thank God that you guys did something, a resolution to tell her, knock it off, my way of talking, for the gas thing. And also, change bail reform. We're putting these guys on the line. And we're throwing people back on the streets, going to hurt other citizens. We got to stop this nonsense. We got to stop it. So that's what I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. Okay, Frank Tadaro? Welcome.
Hello, everybody. Frank J. Tadaro, Erie County Legislator, resident of Lancaster, 188 Ransom Road. I appreciate being here today and allowing me a few minutes of comments. As your legislator, I'm kind of touring my district, and it was a little bit disheartening to find out last meeting that it was tabled on the decision of the opposition of the natural gas ban. So I stand here today commending this board, this honorable board, to actually pass that. Some concerns on some of the language. I can understand everyone's got their own way of reading it and understanding it, but I stand here because we were unanimous in Erie County. There really was no debate whatsoever. I would think that would kind of pass along to my district that I represent. I think that, you know, seeing how it happened in Lancaster was very nice. Alden, and now here in Cheektowaga. So I'm proud of that as your representative. But I think, you know, we want to simplify these situations. You know, during Christmas, natural gas was a lifeline. People have died. It doesn't fit our region. I am okay with climate, you know, to make sure that climate is one of our biggest things that are concerns for the future. But we have to be concerned that here in Erie County, especially here in Erie County, as a landlord, I have many tenants in the city of Buffalo. Their lifeline was their stove to keep them alive, their children alive. We shouldn't really be thinking about Russia or Qatar. We got to worry about home, That's why I'm here before you. That's what our number one concern is here. We have the weather elements that affect us in a way that we can't get out of our house. We're stuck. We don't get inches of snow. We get feet. So, again, I commend you. Thank you very much. I also like to commend Councilman Bob Leary here from Lancaster.
Welcome, Bob.
So, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Legislator Todaro, for being here today and talking to us. You're welcome anytime. Dave User?
Different topic. At the work session, discussed the reduction, possibly tax for seniors, and you kept saying minimum to 50 grand. How come you didn't go for the maximum 58.4? Why don't we shoot for the 58.4 for seniors?
It
There'd be
is,
more
I
seniors.
thought.
I know you said we'll go for the 50, but the 58.4, you'd get more seniors at 58.4.
That's
And my
what-
thought, after the last meeting, my thought was, well, anybody who gets senior star should get it. That's the way I think.
That,
You're
I
eligible
think
for
that's the
senior star, you're
impression.
eligible for this.
Just so you know, Dave, I think that's how she presented it to us
A
in
senior
the
star
email.
wasn't presented to you, though.
The exemptions were, yes, tonight.
Yeah, but in order to get this low to mod, or whatever you want to call it, if you got it as a senior, if you got your senior star, that means you would get this too. And that would be a big reduction. So, thank you.
Jacob Thompson? Oh, from Assembly Member Monica Wallace's office. Glad to have you. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. I'm here just to bring attention to a couple of issues that my member is doing. She is
Could you just
currently-
speak a little louder,
Oh,
because
yeah,
we have,
sorry.
we're live streaming.
Yeah,
Thanks.
sorry. So she is currently looking for nominations for the 2023 Women of Distinction Awards. You can submit those on her website. You can find the information on her Facebook page or on her website. There's several different categories like volunteer work, education, military service, et cetera. So we're looking for nominations in all those categories. And then there's also, we're also bringing attention to the VITA program at University of Buffalo. It's a free income tax assistance service that they can help you get your taxes done and everything. They can do that usually like in an hour or so. And we're just sponsoring that event. It happens, they do it every Saturday and Sunday up until April 8th. It's on a first come, first served basis, open all with income below $60,000. And we're also making people aware that if they're looking for transportation to that, because we realize it's all the way up in University of Buffalo, that we're working on organizing a shuttle program. We're taking people's names to organize that. So if anybody's interested in that, please call our office. And then I just wanted to quickly also address a concern about the ban on natural gas that was in the governor's budget. The state assembly and the Senate did release their budget proposals today, and both did not include the governor's proposal on banning the sale or installation of new gas appliances by 2030. It still includes the All Electric Buildings Act, but it does not have that ban on residential doing those appliances in their homes by 2030. So I just wanted to educate.
So
on
just
that.
to reiterate
Yeah.
to the audience, that means that Monica Wallace is on our team trying to stop the ban for now.
For residential, yes. Right now in the assembly
In
proposal,
new builds?
it's just on new builds, yeah. So I just want, that just came out today. It only came out just this afternoon, so.
Okay.
So it's obvious the budget negotiations will still be happening and everything, so it's not the final budget, but the Assembly and the Senate have both come out with budget proposals that don't include that, so just to help.
Wonderful.
Hopefully that'll ease some people's minds a little bit, so. Yeah, so anybody has any questions? I'm her community liaison, so I help deal with her constituent issues, with help with people who need help with unemployment, with SNAP benefits, issues with the state, issues with taxes or anything. I help connect them with state agencies, so if anybody needs anything, feel free to call our office and you'll be contacting me, so.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. Oh, all right. Councilmember Jazinski had a question for you. I'm sorry.
So you talked about how they're going to keep the ban on a new home builder. So I think of people that are building homes for a living, and they say, you know, geez, I really want to put a natural gas fireplace in my house, so that's exempt or no?
That is still in the works. I believe the Assembly and Senate had different dates proposed for when that would be in effect, but essentially, yeah, that would be banning it on new builds. So So that's essentially what's in the proposal right now. But I'm also still doing research on this whole issue for our office, given how important it is to the community and how important, we've gotten many calls about how important this issue is to a lot of people. So I'm pretty much taking the lead on this for our office on doing research on this for everything. So I'm still very much looking into what exactly this would mean for our area and I'm following this issue closely. So I'm happy to keep doing that and updating if people are interested in that.
Anybody else? Well, all right. Yes, we still have time. Thank you, Jacob. Yes, Wally? How do you spell your last name?
My last name is Carriero.
Yeah, but how do you spell that again?
C-A-R-R-I-E-R-O.
Okay.
I try to avoid these things because I sit here and I look at this town board and I got a guy worried about what's going on over in Russia. I got a guy that's worried about the world order when we live in the town of Cheektowaga, and our biggest concern is our seniors. Our second biggest concerns are our taxes and keeping our families together coming in a post-pandemic world. I can walk to 4 Tim Hortons from my house, and every one of you could walk with me, and I'm not even close to being in good shape. For us to recommend to put another Tim Hortons on Harlem Road, we really got to think about what we're doing. You talk to any person in business, a person who's responsible to make payroll, a person that's responsible to find customers, a person who is responsible to pay taxes to their community without receiving a paycheck from the community. And I'm going to tell you, the biggest problem we have right now is finding people to work. They're going to put a Tim Hortons up, and you know why they close it at 9 o'clock? Because nobody wants to work. All of your 26-year-olds that have health insurance are sitting home playing video games, and in the meantime, all of us people are waiting to retire because of the fact that we have nobody to help grow our businesses. So why don't we go and have the Tim Hortons on Harlem Road put in all this fancy heat pump stuff, and we'll see how much it really costs. And we could use that as a pilot program, and I'll bet you they won't want to put a Tim Hortons in anymore. And that will make the neighbors of Harlem and Williams so much happier. Better yet, why don't we find a business that's going to grow that community, to bring back that community to what it was? When I was 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, we used to drive from East Lovejoy down William Street all the way up to Union Road every Saturday morning, and I drove through that community. And those houses over there were new and they were beautiful. And you know, coming from the city, that's where we wanted to live. Now, I drive down the street and I see Tim Hortons everywhere I go. How are you guys changing the world to be better? By buying gas from Russia? Worried about the people in Qatar? Why don't we focus on the problems at hand and quit trying to employ kids to make minimum wage? Because you know what? They're not there. We need better paying jobs so we can afford your taxes. Because you know what? The way I see it is assess, assess, tax, and tax. And I see that in my taxes. I talk to my neighbors. And now I got an Assemblywoman spokesperson here that failed to tell you that she's got legislation out there to waive the sales tax on fire extinguishers. Great idea. 164 people died in a fire because they didn't have a fire extinguisher. Is that really what the town of Cheektowaga needs? I think we need to put our thinking caps on and come up with something a little bit better and appreciate what we have before you don't have it anymore.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we are at the point I believe we can adjourn. Okay. Motion to adjourn, Councilmember Adams-Act, seconded by Councilmember Pilarski. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.